Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. I didn't get a chance to share this particular live out to everyone today like I normally do. Um, so let me just make sure. Uh, so today, I want to talk and share a little bit with you today about rebirth and reset, because that's the timing that we're in, and timing is everything. If you're just coming in, happy Friday. This is the Venus's day, the day of love. I actually could have been dripping wet with some amber colors and orange, and something that's just really rich, and how timing is everything. And when we're talking about resetting and we're talking about rebirth, timing is everything. You're going to get tired of me saying it, possibly. The timing is everything, right? And when we look back over what we know now, versus if we had known what we know now, how we would have applied it. And hi again to the new people who may be here, and big love to the tribe. Hey, Camille. I love you. Happy Friday to the goddesses who know that this is Venus's day. This is why people call it Freaky Friday, right? But I'm not here just to talk about the days of the week. That's another thing. But I am here to talk about timing is everything, and the rebirth that we are upon. 12/12 on tomorrow. Join us 12/12, the double portion in 2020. And so here's the thing. I want to say this publicly, and you can say ouch or amen. But hey, listen. I want you to hear this part of what I'm saying, because many of us have been conditioned to be afraid of hearing things that are different, and unless it comes from a pulpit or has been sanctioned by your pastor, you oftentimes might say, I don't believe in that. You'll dismiss it so quickly when we talk about it. Yet at the beginning of a new year, most pastors are proclaiming what those years mean. That is numerology. That is an ancient science. It's not beholding to just being Christian, just being Muslim. And so the restrictions, what are the restrictions for? Because this is to help us to know when to do certain things, how to do certain things. And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit on 12/12. And more than anything, tomorrow, it's an opportunity to really get ourselves in vibrational alignment with what is going on. The planet is moving at a much faster rate right now. And that means that when we are focused on low vibrational energies, or we give our energy away so quickly to the low vibrational things, because they are, hey, everybody that's coming in, thank you. If you don't mind share this out. Because when we have opportunities to reset ourselves in the season, and you all know biblically, even the word says that there's a time and a season, and it tells you that there's a time and a season to love, a time to mourn, a time to do certain things, right? And so when we look at timing around this, clearly this has been, for most of us that's been alive, we've never experienced anything like this. Now, if you have the benefit of elders who have been on the planet for any extended amount of time, they may be able to tell you stories of the Great Depression. Some of them can tell you stories of being in proximity to shutdowns. Alafia. And so being in proximity to these particular energies, then they have a story to tell, and it's a beautiful thing to have elders around you to tell you and to share with you how they got through something, and then of course to have a reference point. Many of us don't have reference points in our bloodline. Many of us don't have reference points of many of the yeses that I have been saying to talking about in the Yes series this week. And we don't have reference points sometimes for forgiveness, because we've seen our people be angry and hold on, or we've been mistaught, even through spirituality and religion. And so we haven't had a reference point for forgiveness. We haven't had a reference point for how to manage our spiritual gifts. Even if your spiritual gift is entrepreneurship, and you are an entrepreneur, and you have not you don't have a reference point in your family. And so yet here I am saying, say yes to it. But I'm talking about what we've been experiencing in this 2020 year. Okay, so then, do you have a reference point for practicing a particular art, a skill, a craft, when especially you may be the one that's called? You may be the one that's called in your bloodline. Oh, thank you. Ah, my little sister, my namesake, Denise. And so, so you may be the one that is the reference point, the new reference point, even, because there are old reference points that are outdated and expired. And so here we are, as we are moving through this double portion year, having to really entertain ourselves at a much deeper level of family, of tribe, community, livelihood, intimacy, you know, even science and health. Would you say, can you agree that this has been an abnormal experience, because a new normal is being set? So sometimes before the new normal, for us, it feels abnormal. I talked a little bit about that in the practice, right? And so you may be a new reference point, or you need a new reference point. See, a lot of times there are people who love the idea of talking about personal development, self-growth, and inspiration, with no action, no accountability. And so people love to talk about this, but they still want to use the old reference points. So when it's time to rebirth and reset, the old reference points, other than the elders being able to tell you not necessarily how to stop or not to believe in yourself, but just how their story. And that's what I want to be clear about when we talk about the elders, because sometimes even our elders, even in spiritual communities, offer limitations. Some of our elders in spiritual community have contributed to a lot of church hurt. Some of our elders and communities have contributed to us having bad versions of relationships, parenting. So it's true, right? Am I lying? And it doesn't mean to beat them up, to judge them, or to dismiss the wealth of information through their story. Because even when you become a parent, or you become a leader, and you have judged other people that's in leadership, it shows up different for you, because the thing that you judge will show up for you when you are the one that's called to do it. Because oftentimes we judge the thing that we get to experience in some way. So that's why I used to hear my mama say, honey, when you have children, you don't talk about other people's children, because you never know what yours are going to do or what's going to happen to yours. And so I always used to hear my mother say that, with her friends, baby, don't talk about other people's children, because and I heard it with marriages and that type of. And now we have a looking glass world where we're looking into the lives of so many other people that it's really a distraction from being able to look into the windows of our own souls, which is our own eyes, and find the divine there, and to be able to get good wisdom and know, eat the meat, spit out the bones, so that you can use tools, ancient tools, wisdom, and not be afraid of it. Because am I the only one who ever sat and looked at that dichotomy? The dichotomy of they tell you to not to do this. This is witchcraft, or this is negative, or oh, that's not of God. If it didn't come through me, if I didn't sanction it, we didn't sanction it. If my particular, you can only read this publication, you can only read that publication. But then when you go on to that midnight service on New Year's, they're breaking down the numbers. I know that some of you sit because, see, millennials have sat under these paradigms. Who just put the angry sign? Who's angry? Who just put the angry emoji? You mad? Why you mad? These are why millennials call us on our foolishness oftentimes, and why they that when you were raising many of them, and even Generation Xers, because I'm a Generation X, so Generation X is the generation that really kind of bucked, but baby, the millennials took it to the next level, I would say. And there are lessons to be learned in their story and in their perception. And actually, when you watch Yama Fix My Life on Saturday, this particular show this week that's coming up is one of the shows that I coach. And woo, honey, the family really put in some strong work. I'm gonna go into the tribe after it airs, and you meet this family. I want you to hear to see this. It'll be later after we do the 12-12, but it's a great teaching on what I'm talking about in terms of generational breakdowns. And now we're going into a new decade. Well, every decade has an energy. It has a guidance. And how do you know it? Even when the three kings in the story were going to this baby in a manger, they read the sky. And so there are several instances where the sky is being read even in your scriptures. There's a mystery system, in other words, to all of the three major religions. And in order to enter into the mystery system, you had to enter into the mystery schools. Now, this is why we have so many people teaching different versions of different things, because many of our ancient arts have been lost or scattered, or they have been controlled through very religious systems, secret societies. Come on now, is this too deep? Is this too deep? I'm waiting. Let me know, because I know that I'm talking to people on several different levels in various different systems. And the part of my heart that I like to give is making sure that, I remember the days when I was afraid to, and there wasn't many days, I'm going to tell you that, because I've always been a seeker. I've always had to test my yes in a way that would lead me to rebirths. This is why I teach so passionately around rebirth. Juicy is actually a byproduct and a benefit. Being juicy has been a benefit of my rebirth. And rebirth became a lifestyle for me, because when I remember when I was a little girl, can I tell y'all this story and go on and get out your way on this Friday? Can I tell you if you give me the thumbs up, you give me a wink, wink, I'll keep going. I want to tell, I think I wrote about this story a little bit somewhere, but I want to tell you, if you give me the wink, wink, the okay, to go ahead, I'm gonna tell you this really quick story. When I was, hey love, how are you? When I was young, I'm still waiting, and I'll stop if I don't get it. Give me the go ahead to continue to tell you. I didn't know that I was following a yes, because my yes looked different to my family. I would even say that the call looked different. That's what it is. The call looked different. My response was also coming from what didn't make sense to me. And so my yes began, and yours probably did too. Your yes began looking at something for your life, or something you enjoyed, or just something that you were called to. But somewhere along the line, you got told no, or that it was wrong, or that to stay away from it. And you took that at face value. And that happens oftentimes. And what happens is we accept what is considered normal again. And when we accept what's considered normal, then we find ourselves recycling what is acceptable by those who have taught you. So we talk about generational curses after the fallout has happened. We talk about struggle after we realize that we've worked on a job for 40 years only to be given a watch. I started off this conversation, I want to ask you before I continue, tell me if you had known what you know now, if you knew one thing that you know now, let's say 10 years ago, what would it be? How would your life look? Put it in the comments. I'll read 3 of them. Because when we're cultivated by people who aren't afraid, we're moving into the age of Aquarius, a very spiritual. It requires a high vibration. It requires us to embrace the feminine. Even if you are a man watching, it requires us to revisit the mother wound in your bloodline, but beyond it, or the father's epigenetics, to be able to know what's going on. Epigenetics is really is what are those things that that we talk about, like ancestors, and studying our lineage. And are you, for those of you who may not know, it's okay, you're doing it. That's just a fancy word for it. So what would you do? I know you all talked about what you would do with your money. But let me just tell you, so this particular day, it's just still so surreal to think about what happened. I remember riding down a main street in my hometown, and something said. How many of you all can relate to something said? Something told me to do, and it led you somewhere. You don't know how it happened, but it happened. And when you got there, you knew this was supposed to happen just like this. And sometimes it's even through a tragedy, so to speak. And so I go, and something said, go into this store. It was a new bookstore. It seemed odd. And I've always been drawn to books, always. Nerd, geek. I'm just a spiritual nerd, and I'm a juicy spiritual nerd. And I go in, I'm walking down the aisle. I don't really have any, at least as far as I can remember, I don't remember having an intention. I'm going to catch your comments. Thank you. I'm letting you put them in. I don't remember why. All I know is I found myself kneeling down to the last bookshelf, almost near the ground. It's almost as the book fell off, but I do remember taking my finger and going to the book. The book was The Road Less Traveled by Scott M. Peck. I'll never forget it. I knew it was prophetic for me. And I picked up the book and I tried to read it with my teenage mind, and I got some of it. Some of it spoke to my heart because my heart was still broken from different experiences that had not been articulated or processed through. So it spoke to the the love agent in me. But what it did was it rebirthed my own yes to continue to be curious about things. And I could tell you story after story of spiritual rebirths that happen through the weirdest, what seems like the weirdest ways. I could tell you this is especially for empaths, for people who have been called to ministry, people who have spiritual gifts like the clairs, clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairessence. um uh I left out one of them because there are 4 clairs. and some of us have all of them, some of us have 2, and that type of thing. When you have these gifts, this calling, and you desire to live a high vibrational life where you know that you can manifest in a crisis time, like Madam C.J. Walker, who manifested in a pandemic, like, and drove in the deep South. That still boggles me, how she was driving from town to town and setting up in a pandemic. And that's the spirit that of an elder. When I talk about pulling on an elder, pulling on an ancestor, yeah, you have the ones in your bloodline, but they may not be the reference point that you know of. And if you haven't been taught how to access and speak to the blood, oh God, I get excited. Let me calm down, because some people really start tripping. But listen, we're talking about timing is everything. Timing is everything. And listening to the part of your spirit that's calling you in a time and a season that you have been born for, a time and a season that you can rise to the occasion to respond to, no matter what's in your bank account, no matter what mistakes you made, no matter if you're still in recovery from food addiction, drug addiction, love addiction, lying addiction, whatever the case may be. This is a time and a season for you to mount up on wings of eagles, run and not be weary, walk and not faint. All of us, we're in a special season, and there's some special moments and portals that are open for us. And so you said I would have followed my heart instantly without hesitation. I love that. That's a good one, because it's not just about having a thing, right? Thank you for sharing that, Keela. And then Nina says, I would have made guilt-free decisions about divorce. Good one, good one, good one. Because sometimes people still feel guilty, feel like they failed, and say, yeah, oh, I'm gonna share on Saturday. I'm trying to finish writing, finish lining everything up. It's so many pieces just to do a free, no cost, basically special session in excellence as a contribution. See, it may be no cost to you, but what it does for me is it is service. It is hours invested. It is staff time invested. It is money invested. And so I'm asking you just to show up, to share. Okay. Let me keep going. Tressa, who you will also hear from on Saturday. She is one of our special authors. She is a Juicy Butterfly from the community. You will hear from her on Saturday as well. And she's a part of the special release to the public of the gift that we're announcing and revealing on Saturday as well. Tressa says, I would not have spent time looking for answers that I already have. My goodness. Okay, you got to say more about that, boo. Oh yeah. Sometimes we don't move when we hear the call, when we hear yes, that's good, Nina. Antoinette, you'll also hear from Antoinette on Saturday for minute 2. She's been a part of Sacred Juice, the mastermind that I've had running all year. And I don't want to give it away, but she said I would have asked both of my grandmothers more questions about our lineage, and you still can. And remind me on Saturday to tell you how when we do the wrap up of question and answers, because we'll stay back. Juicy Butterflies, if you're watching, we're gonna have a special after party just for you, and those who are in the mastermind will get a chance to come in and be a butterfly on the wall. Thank you, Keela. You're right. The other Claire is Claire Cosnick. Okay. And who else? Michelle Reese said, ain't nothing wrong with being a juicy spirit nerd. Some of us need that just to get through and to access our divine when we don't know, but we can feel it. Thank you, Michelle. I love it. You're right. There was times where I didn't know it. I didn't know the technology. But I knew that there was something that was non-traditional. I knew that there was something different, even though I followed along for a long time out of fear. That's why Juicy is joyfully uncovering intimacies, courageous yes, your yes. That's what Juicy really is in terms of a process. Yeah, the benefit is your drip. The benefit is your pleasure. The benefit is your ability to have magnetism and charm and to be able to seduce your desires to you. Oh yeah, that's the benefit. But the process is joyfully uncovering intimacies, courageous and sometimes creative. Yes, thank you for adding that. And I'm getting ready to close out really quickly. Show up and share. You said that's my ask. Hey, Candace Camille. Salute to you, goddess. Candace Camille has a beautiful brand. She is the queen of wellness and has an awesome story. And I'm saving the heavyweights for January for the special pleasure camp that we're going to do. And hopefully I can have a beautiful soul such as Candace. I'm so glad I caught you. She is also the planking queen, which I need to be planking, but instead of sitting at this desk for 15 hours and working till 2 or 3 and getting up in my lower back. And listen, that's a whole story for ministers and helping professionals in terms of how we have to take extra care of ourselves. And I don't always do it the way I should. So thank you. Your presence here reminds me. All right. So I'm going to close out. Is that all right with you? Is that all right? So the rebirth, this 12-12 double portion is 12 is a very divine number, and I'm going to share or make a special video on Saturday morning to get out to those of you who have already registered. So make sure that you go to LaTanyaTaylor.com to register. I want to close out with this when I'm talking about rebirthing and reset. I want you to hear this really quickly, and I'm reading from Letters from the Infinite by Reverend Deborah L. Johnson. It's one of my favorite books. It's this book, and you'll hear more from it later. And Spiritual Warriors, you already know. but being on with Iyanla and being a graduate of Inner Visions, we've had this book for years before you all, the social media thing. Okay, so listen to this. Many of us get birthing and building confused. Birthing is an inner process of gestation, she says, while building is the process of manipulating matter to create new forms. Hear this again. I'm going to read it again. Birthing is an inner process of gestation, while building is the process of manipulating matter to create new forms. When something has been built, it is natural for it to sometimes have ways for it to be destroyed. When something has been birthed, it can only be rebirthed. Because energy never dies, it only changes forms. And so when we talk about transformation, you are changing the form. of what you have believed, what you have spoken, how you show up for yourself, what tools you use. And so some of us get building and birthing confused, and we give more energy to the building. And here's how she says it: when one builds, there's a sense of being in control. Come on, control freaks. When one is building, you know how you talk about building your business, building your relationship, building the foundation of this. And many of us have been taught the masculine Western way of doing business and doing spiritual business as well. But when it comes to birthing, the emphasis is not on the end product, the end result. In other words, because when a woman is carrying a baby, until recent technology, you really don't know what you're carrying until you birth it. At least that's how nature set it up. Now, man has created other things. Man has created other things based off of spiritual gifts, being able to look into. When we talk about X-ray vision and 20/20 and the different kinds of sight, there's hindsight, people who can see what happened in the past lives. There's foresight, people who have spiritual gifts who can see ahead. And there is clear sight. There's insight, being able to go within and to see. So there are other ways of seeing, just as there are other ways of being that contribute to the birthing process. The building process, you are using your natural eyes. You're using you're using 3D. When we talk about third dimension, that's a heavy energy. But when we start talking about 4D, 5D, that is the energy when we're talking about a higher vibration. So listen, she said, builders often try to compensate for their lack of relationship with me, talking about spirit, with themselves and with others, by diverting their own attention to task-oriented activities. Birthing, on the other hand, is an internal process in which one is actually aware that one is not in control. When you are birthing, you are aware that something is dependent on you for nurturance. And we're in a birthing season. Is that right? Would you say you're rebirthing? Would you say that you're resetting? And not only that, the money is being reset. With the many institutions, education is going to have to be reset. We cannot do education the same way. Those of you who are at home homeschooling or can't get on the live, can't stay on the live, because you now have to be the first teacher, just like you always were, woman, the first teacher. Do you think that that's an accident? That mama is the first teacher, and we've abjugated our duties and given the responsibility to other people to teach and to feed the minds. But now we have to be involved. We got to be hands-on in that thing, just like we have to face our marriage and we have to face our conversations about home. What is home to us? How do we feel safe? How do we feel secure? The way that we define ourselves on jobs, and jobs that kept draining us dry, where you have to be in traffic, living an unnatural life, disconnected from the land, disconnected from the medicines and the herbs and the plants, and disconnected. And so here we are now talking about food shortages and fallout in the streets, which will cause us to have to learn how to grow our food and how to care for our food. And we're being rebirthed. Would you agree that this is a birthing season? So we can either sit over there and say no to it and resist it and judge it and call even me Lord, or we go on and go through this portal that's open for us. And so 1212 is that portal. I'm going to close because every time I go back into this thing, I swear it just reactivates me. There's more where this comes from. There's more at LaTonyaTaylor.com. This is how we talk every Wednesday in Rebirth Woman, except we get a little bit more naked. So I just want to invite you to join us for I Say Yes to Myself. Feminine leaders, it's time for us to rise to the occasion, expand our territory without fear, without being totally distracted and scattered all over because of the energies, the competing energies on the planet. And so I'm saying, my brothers, shout out to my big brother. I think you my big brother, but shout out to Baba Afimayu and Maye. And all I'm saying, sister, is I have a wig I can borrow at hand so I can jump on this course. Oh, that's so sweet. I appreciate that. I'm totally honored. A lot of brothers have been asking to come and to join us. And I won't really know who's in the room fully, but when we start enjoying ourselves, you may blush a little bit, but that's okay. Yes, thank you. Yes, this is birthing season, so go on, share this out. Come on, let's program I'm gonna share what they are in a separate video. And some of you probably have already done your research, but go on and just check out what's happening before this winter solstice and all the planets that are on the move. I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. I look forward to seeing you on the other side. Ciao.